In this video audio recording, I want to talk about the correct way of keeping track of time here on earth according to Genesis chapter 1 and verse 14. That verse says that the sun and the moon were given to us here on earth to keep track of time on the earth, not in heaven. And if you take into consideration what it says in the writings of Peter found in the New Testament, that one day with the Lord is as 1,000 years and 1,000 years as one day, then you have to ask yourself, is time on earth the same time as in heaven? And why would you assume that you have the correct format for the 7 days of a week? Based on what? The Roman calendar? The Julian Gregorian calendar? So you're just going to ignore Genesis 1:14, right? That the sun and the moon were given to us as a means to mark the seasons, the days. How can you keep track of the days using the sun and the moon? Well, the moon has various phases, right? It helps you mark the days through the various phases of the moon. So if you take the Genesis chapter 1 and 2, first day, second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day, sixth day, and 7-day format and apply it here on earth, it wouldn't add up, because again, Genesis 1:14 says that the sun and the moon were given to us to keep track of the days here on earth. All right. So you can't assume that, you have the correct format for the 7 days of the week based on this Roman Julian Gregorian calendar. I mean, come on. It comes from the Romans. You're going to trust them? And like I said, if you say that, okay, well, it doesn't, you say, okay, no, God said 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day, 5 day, 6 day, 7 days. So we got to use that format. We have the correct format. Then you're totally dismissing Genesis 1:14. So it doesn't add up. So you have to ask yourself then, there is a possibility that time here on earth differs from time in heaven. Remember, a day with the Lord is as 1,000 years here on earth. And 1,000 years here on earth is as a day in heaven with the Lord. So you ask yourself that, okay? For those that think that they could find the Sabbath day based on the current format that we have, based on this Roman Gregorian Julian calendar, or based on the 7 days of creation or recreation of the earth, to toss out Genesis 1:14 like that is making a crucial mistake. How people can't see this, I don't know, it's beyond me. So if you want to find the proper way of keeping the 7 days of the week according to Genesis 1:14, then you're going to have to start understanding how the phases of the moon work, okay? It's not that complicated, people. All right, you don't need to worry about how, okay, well, what's going, okay, so if it's not the 7 days of the recreation of the earth, then how do we keep track of time? Don't worry about that. Look, just focus on what Genesis 1:14 is telling you. He gave us the sun and the moon as a means to keep track of time here on earth, not in heaven, all right? Don't worry about what's going on in heaven too much. Focus on what it says there in that verse. And then if you understand that the phases of the moon help you determine the days, including the Sabbath days, then you have to compare it with this current calendar that you're using, this Roman Gregorian Julian calendar, and see if it matches up with what it says in Genesis 1:14, right? The phases of the moon. So, yeah, I'm not going to go too deep into it, but just food for thought. I mean, I wouldn't rely on my enemies to give me the proper information, Am I going to trust their calendar? Absolutely not. So you best believe that I'm going to go by the Creator's calendar, what it says in Genesis 1:14. Now, the thing is, I want to know what phase of the moon marks the first day of the week. Remember, there's different phases of the moon. Is it the dark moon? Is it the full moon? Is it the first visible crescent? What is it? So that's your homework, okay? All I could do is bring you this information, and you gotta sort it out in your mind and use discernment and search for the answers. I'll have more on this as I continue to make videos, but for now, just chew on this, all right? So with that being said, I'm out.